Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way, where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 2 in my series of comparing adult features to children's features. And in this video we're going to be painting a baby's face. So here are the brushes that I use. I usually use a 1/2 inch flat and some bristle brushes, and also a script brush for little detail. And then I use canvas board. You can also use stretched canvas if you want to. It just depends on your own preference. And here are the colors that I use, and you can also use I use Grumbacher Academy, but I also use Liquitex. And you can use any other kind of acrylic that you want. It just depends on what your personal preference is. And sometimes the color names will change from brand to brand. So I'm going to be using Infinite Painter for Android for this. And I found a baby's picture on Pixabay. And I want to go ahead and just kind of draw the baby's face and just kind of get a feel for how it's different from an adult. So again, as we learned in the previous video, the eyebrows are going to be halfway across the face, and then the eyes will actually be below the halfway line, but the nose will still be approximately a 1/2 of a 1/2, and the mouth will be 1/2 of the line that goes through the nose. And that, of course, will show that the baby has just a very small chin. So once you kind of get those proportions, you want to go ahead and just make a little sketch. Now make sure that you don't cover this sketch up. You want this sketch to be on the bottom layer when you're using Infinite Painters. You want to just kind of keep it on the bottom layer there, so that you don't lose it, because if you lose it, then things get all out of proportion, and so you have to start with a good sketch. And so here I'm just trying to get the eyes level. You have to make sure that you get the eyes level. You want to make sure that they're on the same horizontal plane. And so I'm just kind of working on that. And as you can see, it's not easy. You have to get this part done. You have to get this part right. If you don't get this part right, it'll mess everything else up. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get the sketch and make sure that the eyes are on the same level, the nose, and I'm trying to get the baby's head tilted just a little bit, because it's in the picture it's sort of tilted. So that's what I'm working on there, trying to get that. And as you can see, I'm struggling with it a little bit. And that's going to happen. Portraits are hard. Actually, if you want to get the right look, portraits are hard. So here I'm just trying to get the basics of the baby's shoulders, try to get some proportions, and I decided that I'm going to have to make the picture a little bit bigger, probably, because I want just the baby's face. So I decided I'd start with some of the oil brushes and Infinite Painter, just to try to get kind of a neutral background going. And so I'm using a purplish color, and you can use dioxazine purple with lots of white acrylic gesso if you're following along. Throw in a little bit of some cadmium orange if you're following along with your acrylics. And just use one of your flat brushes to do this. And so here I'm trying to get the proportions right. And again, if you're doing this digitally, you can do that. If you're doing this with acrylic and you decide the proportions aren't right, you're just going to have to redraw the picture again. And what I would suggest doing is draw it and maybe scan it in and then cut it out with some tracing paper until you get the right size, and just kind of go over it so that you don't have to keep drawing over and over again on your canvas. But if you're doing this digitally, of course, you just use the transform tool on the layer, and that's why I said keep it on a separate layer, because that's why you want to be able to fix it. You know, it's easier if you put it on all on one layer, you can't fix it as well. So that's why I've got the drawing on a separate layer. Now, you don't have to have a whole bunch. I don't paint with a whole bunch of layers. Now, some people paint with hundreds of layers, and they use a big, powerful computer. This is actually on my Samsung Tab S4, so I can't use a ton of layers. But if you're using a big computer, some people will paint with tons of layers, but I don't like to. I just want my drawing and then a separate layer where I can kind of blend in the paint and get a naturalistic feel. And so here I'm just kind of working on flesh colors. And this is a light flesh color. This baby is got a really light flesh color here. And so I'm just kind of using browns and oranges. You want to probably avoid dark, harsh colors when you're doing a baby's face. You want delicate colors, delicate pinks, delicate browns. You want some light yellow, perhaps, some peach colors. And then here you can use a darker brown color for the eyes. And as you can see, I don't have them straight there, so I'm going to have to work on that. And that's what I mean by don't get rid of your beginning sketch, and always make some guidelines to check them. And so here I'm just kind of using a burnt sienna, or a light burnt sienna, light burnt umber color if you're following along with your acrylic paints. And then I'm just kind of adding a sort of a lighter brown for the hair, trying to get and get a little bit of some fuzzy peach fuzz type hair, because their hair is not very thick. Baby's hair is not very thick. So you also have to keep that in mind when you're working with children. And here you can see that the forehead is big. And then here I'm trying to put in some eyebrows. And the eyebrows also are going to be very thin and delicate, so you're going to have to do that. And the mouth is going to be really small, and as you can see, you check that with the guide, and I can see that it's not lining up right. So I'm just going to show you all the struggles that I had with this, because it's not just an easy thing to do portraits. Adult portraits are hard, and baby portraits are also hard. And so here I've got a sketch of the baby's face, and I'm looking and seeing that, wow, it's really off, and the eyes are too big and everything. And I'm really going to have to work on that, because that's not working at all. And the head is tilted a little bit more, and also the chin needs to be a little bit wider, and so I'm working on that and trying to get that straightened out here. And also that the head needs to be a little bit bigger too. And you just kind of have to keep working on it until it kind of gets straightened out. And so I'm still in the beginning stages. And it may take you a while to be in the beginning stages. I mean, you may stay there a while. It's not always just a quick, easy thing to whack out a portrait. And so here I'm deciding I need to add more forehead, as I could see in the sketch there, and just go ahead and I've painted over the eyes and the eyebrows. And if you're following along traditionally, go over it again, paint it out, just redo it. You're going to have to redo it again. And I've done this. I can tell you right now, I've done this a lot. I've gone over and over and over faces. And if you're doing acrylic, it has a tendency to build up. Your paint does. So smudge it out. Each time you put a layer in, smudge it out with a paper towel or something and kind of smooth it out. Especially if you're painting on masonite. That will really show your different paint layers and build up. So just go ahead and smudge it out so that you keep having a smooth canvas when you're messing up here. And so here I'm going over it again. I'm trying to fix the eyes and make them a little bit more, they're at an angle sort of, but I have to make sure that they're on the right plane with each other. And also the eyebrows and the nose and the mouth. So I decided to kind of put in the pupils of the eyes just to see where I'm at, because sometimes that helps. So got that going. Then I decided, well, I'll do a little bit of the baby's shoulders just to kind of give me some idea of proportion as well. And then this is why I tell you to have the guide on separate layers, because then you can make it invisible and on your Infinite Painter program. And then you can also play around with the size. And again, I decided that I wanted it a little bit bigger because I didn't want to show as much of the arms of the baby. I just kind of want this to be a face study. And so then I'm working on the eyes again. Made them bigger again. That's too big. I have to go back, change that, fix it, and make you a life-size drawing of the baby's face and put it next to your picture and step back and look and see where you're at. And then here I'm just doing this with Infinite Painter, which is really nice that you can do that with your photo references in Infinite Painter. But if you're doing this traditionally, just get a paper that's the same size as what you've got on your canvas and sit it next to it and step back and look and see what you need to do. And so here we go again. I'm painting the eyes out again, and I'm working on the nose again, and I've popped the guide up again so that I can see. And you can make a guide out of tracing paper if you're doing this traditionally, and put it over your picture so that you can see what's happening there. Make sure that you've got the eyes on the same level, and the nose and the mouth slanted. All of those have to be on the same slant and the same level. And you just have to keep checking it and keep working on it, and just keep trying to correct it and make sure that you're still in the beginning stages, because you don't want to get into the highly detailed stages and then it's all wrong and you have to do it all over again, because that's even harder. So you want to get all this stuff corrected while you're just in the beginning stages. So this is beginning to look a little bit better and beginning to make a little more progress. So now I'm kind of working on the shape of the head, and it's not exactly right, but it's better than it was. And I'm kind of adding a little bit more features to it. And I'm working with browns and a lot of light colors. You can add a little bit of some blues and some yellows in there if you want, but be careful. You don't want to put too much blue or purple, because that would look like there were bruises. And then here I'm just kind of working on the eyes again, seeing what I've got going, trying to get that. Looking at the head shape, trying to see what's going on there with the head shape, and then I'm comparing it again to the sketch. And then I moved the mouth a little bit, and I'm moving the eyes a little bit with the transform tool and Infinite Painter. And again, you're just going to have to do little strokes and move things over if you're doing this traditionally to try to get to move the eyes over. So as you can see, it's a struggle. It's not easy to do, as we can tell when a lot of people try to do children's faces. They end up just making them look like small adults instead of children's faces. So it's not just an easy thing to do. You have to really work at it and really study the features on their faces. And so this is the end of part 2. And stick around if you want to see part 3. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.